For years, we've been writing letters to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change about the serious, unaddressed public safety issues for the proposed hydroelectric generating station at the Bala Falls. And here are some examples. So this series of photographs were taken during the summer of 2016, and on the left we can see something in the water down the Moon River. And in fact, it's something yellow. And in fact, it's what's zoomed in the center here. There's somebody, I don't know, she's paddling a stand-up paddleboard, and with her are two people swimming in the Moon River. And where are they going? They're going to the only public docks on the Moon River, farther away than private docks. They're not directly under the influence of the Bala North Falls or the Bala Dam or where the proposed generating station would be. They're hundreds of feet down the Moon River in a navigable waterway where they are allowed to be and where it would be outside of the proposed downstream safety boom. So here's an aerial view of the situation. At the red arrow here is the location of the proposed hydroelectric generating station at the Bala Falls. And the treacherously turbulent and fast water exiting would go down the Moon River as shown by the yellow of the Proponent's flow simulation, showing water more than double the speed of what Transport Canada says would be safe for canoeing and kayaking. And this water would flow down the Moon River and would be just as fast inside of the proposed downstream safety boom as outside of it. And in fact, this fast and dangerous water would extend more than 160 feet outside of the proposed downstream safety boom. We've told this to the Ministry of Natural Resources, and the responses we get make no sense. In fact, they are to the point of being nonsense. Here's an example of a response from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry that just makes no sense. They wrote us saying, well, maybe the Moon River would be dangerous, but the area where people recreate just downstream of the Bala North Dam is at a higher elevation than the Moon River, so that would be okay. Well, that would be like saying, go ahead and let your children play on the shoulder of a highway because it is safe there. Here's another nonsense response from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. They point out that since there is a street address for the proposed generating station, you could just call 911 and have emergency response people come out in a timely way. Well, that's what happened for the drowning in 2008 of a 16-year-old boy at the Wilsons Falls generating station there. And sure, I'm sure they were very efficient at recovering the body, but we're trying to prevent drownings, not ensure that the people that have been drowned are recovered efficiently. And here's the example we started with. We get it. Areas directly above and below hydroelectric generating stations and dams, you shouldn't be in the water there. But that's not where these people are. They're in the middle of the Moon River, in a navigable waterway, outside of the proposed downstream safety boom, going to their own private docks or the only public docks on the Moon River. They're allowed to be in the water there. And yet, this is where the water would be made dangerous without any warning to tourists due to the proposed hydroelectric generating station. It's just not right to drown unsuspecting tourists. Here's a development that we think is relevant to our concerns. It's a decision just a few months ago from Ontario's Environmental Review Tribunal that reversed a decision from the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change that would have allowed the construction of 8 wind turbines in close proximity to 2 small airports near Collingwood, Ontario. What it showed is the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change did not have the required public safety expertise either in-house or available to them from other ministries. So the Ministry of the Environment is probably very good at environmental concerns, but when it comes to public safety, they just don't have the expertise. They were making a decision to allow these wind turbines when it was found that they would have been too dangerous. That certainly seems to be the situation for the proposed hydroelectric generating station in Bala, where it would just be too close to in-water recreational areas. A response we repeatedly get back from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry is that it would be the proponent's responsibility to operate their proposed hydroelectric generating station safely, as if the Ontario government has no such responsibility. However, under the Lakes and Rivers Improvement Act, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry's responsibilities do include operation of such facilities, and that is, it is not right for the Ontario government to have no idea whether the proposed facility could be operated safely. There are many more examples where the responses from the provincial ministries just make no sense. For example, the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change repeatedly tells us that the proponent already received environmental approval in 2013. Well, sure, but what if the proponent won't honor the commitments they made for that approval? For example, the proponent had committed that their proposed generating station would only make the water dangerous within the downstream safety boom, and now we learn the water would be dangerous outside of their proposed downstream safety boom as well. The proponent now has a new plan for their proposed upstream coffer dam that would risk damaging the Bala North Dam and the district municipality's bridge over the Bala North Channel. Now we learn the proponent may discharge the output of their oil water separator into the Moon River. These are environmentally significant changes and differences that stakeholders need to be informed of and haven't been. There's even more that makes no sense. For example, during the proposed construction, the proponent has requested to locate settling tanks in the Don's Bakery Portage Landing parking lot, even though their lease for these lands from the township of Muskoka Lakes would not allow that. The MNRF has procedures requiring the public be warned before flow is increased to the Moon River, but the proponent has stated they would not provide such warning. In 2013, the MNRF restricted access to the Moon River, claiming the water was too dangerous there. Yet after making the water even more dangerous, the proponent would build a portage, facilitating access to this same water. The proponent has shown that they would locate their construction crane blocking the flow through the Bala North Dam, even though the MNRF would not allow that. This whole proposed project to build a hydroelectric generating station at the Bala Falls began more than 11 years ago with a very well-written request for proposals from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, which included the provision that the project could be cancelled without cost or penalty if the proponent was found to have provided inaccurate or misleading information. And this is the case. The MNRF refutes this. However, they based that analysis not on the released, but on a significantly different draft version of the RFP. We have detailed this to the MNRF, and they refuse to respond to it. When we note to the MNRF that dangers to in-water recreation have not been assessed because Transport Canada does not have this mandate or expertise, the MNRF tells us to contact Transport Canada. That isn't their problem. It isn't their job at Transport Canada to be involved with in-water recreation. So this response just makes no sense. Conversely, Transport Canada's guidelines show that the upstream safety boom should be relocated farther upstream, and yet MNRF does not respond to this. For years, we've been writing letters about the serious, unaddressed public safety issues to the government, and the evasive and nonsense responses that we've been getting show that this bureaucratic process has hit a dead end, which is unacceptable, considering that the result would be drowning unsuspecting tourists and ultimately result in embarrassment to Ontario's Liberal government. It is time to step past trying to talk to the bureaucrats and asking for political action. We now ask that we all write Premier Wynne, copy our local MPP Norm Miller, and if you live in a different area and have another MPP, copy them too. And ask that no further permits be issued for this proposed project until the proponent can show how they would operate their proposed project safely. And request a reply to your letter that actually answers your questions and does not simply repeat the above previous nonsense.